I absolutely cannot imagine a romantic future for myself. I graduated high school only a few weeks ago when I do not remember as every day has become a blur for me. I am 170 centimeters and overweight, so romance has rarely presented itself as an option to me. I don't have crushes often. The boy I found myself taking a liking to began dating a shorter, skinny classmate of mine only weeks before I graduated. It was a mild interest at best, so it wasn't a major heartbreak, but it dug up old, buried memories. Many crushes of mine have slipped from my fingers and fell into the laps of friends of mine. From middle school to sophomore year, I remember having brief talking stages with boys before they always ended up dating one of the girls in my friend group. Short, week-old relationships that always ended the moment I began talking to another boy before he was inevitably snatched up by those same friends. At first it felt like a cruel joke. I thought my friends were all doing it on purpose, but in reality I never spoke to my friends about my romantic interests, nor have I ever mentioned boys around them. They were always coincidences, cruel in nature, but still coincidences. Those week-old relationships. My classmate getting the guy I liked pre-graduation and my few and far yet never reciprocated crushes only made me realize that the weeks I spend getting men to warm up to me as I gradually break from my shell will never amount to the endless charm and beauty all the girls around me exude effortlessly. Alas, I'm no longer friends with any of the aforementioned girls. All friendships ruined from my tendency to distance myself and isolating for years at a time that stem from my own insecurities that bubble from within. It's unfortunate, but no one's fault aside from myself. However, back to my boy woes. I have never had a romantic relationship, nor have I ever been touched as one would touch a romantic interest. I have never had my first kiss either. However, I have had a boyfriend. Online. Over the phone. Yep. I resorted to e-dating, though. Keep in mind I was 13 when we started talking. Our relationship was on and off for the following 3 years. But in the end, how long can a relationship that's overseas last? Of course, it does partially make me sad knowing one of the few boys that paid any kind of attention to me could only stay so long due to the fact that he was nowhere near me. I am on the road to becoming an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. The apartment I want to acquire wouldn't even put a dent in monthly pay. Even if dental school is expensive, I know many other ways of having it paid for. I've focused too heavily on my future. I have a carefully drawn-out plan, and I know how I wish to execute it. Even if things don't go according to the main plan, I have many backups. All my financial woes have been solved to ensure my future is without poverty. Now what? I imagine myself in a large house. My family has always pushed me to be a homeowner. Plus, my love for interior design wouldn't be stunted by a landlord. Nothing bad could come from having a home, right? I've always loved two-story homes in particular. However, the second floor usually houses more rooms. But who will be accompanying those rooms? I love horror. I always end up being scared shitless though. Many people think horror movies are cheesy, but Lights Out made me unable to sleep without the blankets over my head for a few days. I got over it though. My family was always around me. I watched Greylock, an analog horror, and I'm typing this with my blanket over my head now. My grandpa is here, but who will be there to help me get over my addiction to horror that tends to bite me in the ass come nightfall when I move into my extravagant, two-story home? A bit of a tangent here, feel free to skip. I've seen many movies and stories where fat girls lose tons of weight and become so incredibly attractive. I've always had this fantasy of mine that I was just wearing a fat suit, and one day I'll go to school and go to the bathroom and unzip my fat suit to reveal a gorgeous, skinny girl underneath. Of course, that is only a fantasy of mine. I know I have to lose weight, but I realistically can't do that at the moment unless I starve myself. No, really. I have a condition that doesn't break down sugar, not diabetes and starches. Red meats, dairy, soy, butter, oil, and coffee worsens my condition. I need a certain kind of medication that allows my body to break down those foods again, not diabetes, so I have a chance to lose any kind of weight. I'm often the only fat person in the room full of the flattest stomachs, and it's so wild. I live in America, for crying out loud. I thought we were the land of the obese. Why am I the only one with a fupa? It all feels like a big joke sometimes. I don't believe in higher powers, but if there are any, I'd imagine I'm their favorite punching bag. In my 30s, which I've always believed when I'll finally achieve my dreams of being a surgeon and a homeowner, the only thing that comes to mind for me is an empty home. I do somewhat think that with my money, boredom, and loneliness that I may end up in a sugar mommy relationship. I've never in particular been opposed to that, which is incredibly odd to think of. I've always been a giving person. I enjoy giving, but imagining the rest of my love life will be a non-committal exchange in money for kisses between me and some younger man is something. I think to myself as well, what about kids? I don't think I'd enjoy being a housewife. I wouldn't mind being a provider for a family thought. However, I know what being a house spouse does to both sexes, and I'm not sure any man would willingly take that position. If I had kids, I would want them to go to a private school, as I've only been able to go to public schools. I do want my hypothetical kids to have a better future than I. I always wanted a house full of daughters, but I wouldn't be upset if I had an equal amount of sons. If I only had boys, I would pass out though. Joke yearly tuitions are about $16,000, I hear. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd love to save just a bit of money from every paycheck of mine to allow my kids to graduate from one. What if I don't have kids though? I suppose that is a lump sum of money I'll be able to blow in retirement. As I've started writing this at 12-something in the morning, it is now 1:15, and I believe it's time for me to wrap my tangents up. I have accepted my life of lovelessness. I can only hope the promising future of cruised, vacations, and property owning will fill that hole in my heart, and that my sugar baby will be very generous with the sugar.